What's good, everyone? This is Justin Just Rock Ramon from the Just Track podcast, where elevation is our recreation. Super excited for you to check out our next episode as it features the exclusive recording from our fourth ever live podcast show that all went down at the podcast 6-year anniversary event here in Los Angeles. The anniversary was held at the Happier Cafe space, nestled right along the LA River in Frogtown, Los Angeles. Much love to our venue partner, Happier Cafe by Tada Coffee and Happier Camper, and shout outs to our community partners, Parks Project, Keen, Topo Designs, Hest, Highlander, June Shine, Pabst Light, and Parch for supporting this milestone anniversary event and community celebration. This live podcast show featured an all-star panel of past podcast guests that included Rolland Tizuela of Campthropology, Nikki Taylor of Way Out Wild, and RJ Soria of TRVRS Outdoors, and myself as the moderator. It was an entertaining, informative, and impactful group conversation that left a major impression on the audience. We chatted about what sparked their love for the great outdoors, how their platforms prioritize education and backcountry safety, balancing risk with pushing limits, and practical preparation including mapping tools, practicing with gear at home, and building inclusive communities. After the group discussion, we opened up a live Q&A to the audience so that everyone could join in on the fun and ask the guests their own questions and show them some love. In addition to this YouTube video version you're watching right now, we have a video and audio version available on Spotify and an audio version available on Apple Podcasts. You can find those links in the description. All right, let's get to trekking and get into this episode. What's good, everybody? I go by the name Justin Just Rock Ramon, host of the Just Trek podcast, founder of the Just Trek crew, and I'd love to welcome you all to the 6-year anniversary of the Just Trek podcast. Let's go! 6 years of inspirational guests, 6 years of epic outdoor storytelling, and 6 years of the most special community of loyal listeners and outdoor lovers to just rally around the show. Thank you to each one of you for being here for another anniversary milestone. I can't believe this has been going on for just a little over half a decade. And before we get things officially started, I would like to spotlight the venue partner of this event, Happier Cafe by Tada Coffee. If Scotty and Melvin could please come on up. Scotty and Melvin, please come on up. So Scotty and Melvin, if you could just briefly introduce yourselves and share more about Happier Cafe, this community space, and the types of programming that you got going on. And also feel free to let them know about the really cool art cards that you had that people can book.
What's up? Thank you all for coming through. This is Happier Cafe. It's a beautiful space we created along with Happier Camper. They're so kind to host us here, and we built out this space for them to host events just like this for a community just like you guys. So really appreciate you guys coming through. We're at Tada Coffee, and we built this art card to create fun, magical moments where we could DJ, serve coffee, bring energy and coffee and music and events to a bunch of people, take it to festivals. We're for hire for catering as well, if you guys are interested. We also have Fins of Fortune art cards, this beautiful 10-foot koi fish that I feel 12-foot koi fish that Scotty could tell you more about.
Yo, what's up? My name is Scotty. Once again, make some noise for Just Trek. It truly is a beautiful thing that you've been creating on and off the trails, all these, for knowing you for so long, from the dance floor to the mountains. And
Full moon hike.
but yeah, give you mad props and much love. We're excited to celebrate you. My name is Scotty. So building off what you said, this is Tada Coffee with Happier Camper, Happier Cafe. We got our Dream Steam espresso machine there where they're putting on some good beats. And we also have our Fins of Fortune project. It'll be out at Coachella next weekend, so come find us. Anyways, I don't want to take too much time, but once again, thank you guys so much for being here. And make some noise for Just
Trek!
Mic cut off. Also really cool, Scotty and Nanuki, his beautiful white wolf dog, is somewhere in the crowd, I think. They were one of our latest guests, so if you want to learn more about van life and how that beautiful white wolf dog came into his life, tune in. It was the last 3 or 4 episodes. And we've been hosting full moon hikes together, so please stay tuned on that as well. Also, shout out to our community partners. We have Parch, we have June Shine, Pabst Light, Pest Outdoors, who we got Topo Designs, Keen, Parks Project, Highlander Adventure. We got a really crazy raffle giveaway worth like almost close to $3,000. That's going to happen 10 minutes after the live podcast show. And we also have a live Q&A coming up. But to bring it back to the show, the Just Right podcast, I launched this at the height of the global pandemic back on March 31st, 2020. Crazy, right? The same day as my birthday. And as you all remember, or probably don't want to remember, back in March, that was a very eerie time, the great unknown. I remember the streets were empty, businesses were being shut down left and right, and it was a war zone to even get to the grocery stores to find toilet paper. A truly shitty situation, no pun intended. And then I remember they started closing down our local trails, green spaces, parks, and our mountainscapes. I just remember so vividly, I was just so shocked and deeply depressed that you could even shut down the outdoors. You know, so many of us here turn to nature and the outdoors for so much, right? It's very healing, it improves our mental health, improves our physical fitness. It's out there where we find clarity on the journey ahead. And as I was just trying to process this very dark time, I always remember I just had this really strong feeling come over me, this epiphany that, damn, if I can't be in the outdoors, I'm going to talk about it and share my story, my hiking outdoor transformation, and also amplify the voices of others along the way that I've met in the community. And that's what I did. I launched a podcast. I don't have a background in journalism. I don't have a background in reporting. But what I do have a lot of is passion, and that's that Aries inside of me, y'all. I just put my mind to it, go down the rabbit hole, and this is what happens. And the show has just grown so much year to year, and I've had conversations with all kinds of outdoor enthusiasts, from wildlife photographers, tribal elders, mountaineers, DJs infatuated with outer space, LA Times bestselling authors, founders of nonprofits, outdoor entrepreneurs. We pride ourselves on having a diverse spectrum of voices and guests on the show. And I can't wait for you all to meet some of the most special guests that have ever graced our show. And we're going to start bringing them up one by one. So I need all of you out there to show as much love as you can to each person. Y'all ready? Yeah. Y'all ready, rock steady? Yeah. I feel like you guys were waiting for me to say that. All right, first up, this individual is a San Diego-based trekker, outdoor creator, giant bicycle ambassador, Rumpel ambassador, Snow Peak ambassador, co-founder of the Camp Homies Collective, and is the creator of Campthropology. We have the camp connoisseur himself, Rolland Tizuela. Rolland, what's up, my brother? Rolland was a lyricist, a poet back in the day. Maybe you might spit some bars later.
I don't know about that.
All right, next up, this individual is a SoCal-based trekker, backpacker, outdoor guide and safety instructor, wilderness first responder, wild keeper for Keep Nature Wild, trail sister to On Trail With, and is the founder of Way Out Wild. We have representing for all the women out there, Nikki Taylor, AKA Adventure P. We loving the hair.
Thank you.
Last but not least, this individual is a California mountaineer, ultra trail runner, peak bagger, designer, Cal Topo educational ambassador, and is the founder of the Fools Traverse and Traverse Outdoors. Hands down, one of the badass trekkers in the game, RJ Soria! Hope you guys each liked your intro, but welcome to the grand stage. Welcome to the panel. So excited to have you all up here. How are each of you feeling and doing today?
I'm a little nervous, and I'm not gonna lie. How do you live up to that intro? That was such a good, solid. Yeah, thank you so much.
I'm gonna do my homework and hype you guys up. Y'all deserve all the love. So.
All right, we're feeling great. Feeling prompt. Let's do this.
Feeling good in the neighborhood? How about you, RJ?
I'm really good, thank you. I had too much coffee though. This is good.
I know I had to set mine down because I think that is what's causing the heart palpitations.
Are you
No,
guys,
it's the nervousness. No.
also, before we start, do you guys need a beverage or like a cold drink?
4 espresso shots.
For espresso? Oh,
Just
geez.
kidding. Just kidding.
I won't be able to get through this. All right, so the way this works, everyone, I got a few questions that I want to ask to all the panelists. And then after we wrap up with that, we're going to open it up for a live Q&A with the audience. So as we conversate up here, please keep in mind that you can ask a question at the very end. Highly encourage you to take advantage of this. This is a very special combination of people, like, in my opinion, some local Trek history. Also, you don't have to ask a question. You can just come up to the mic near the DJ booth where Mark Feichel is there with the black hat and just show them some love if you don't really have a question to ask them. So y'all ready? Yeah, let's do it. And actually, I need a beverage. Can I get a cold water, por favor? Or parch. Let's do parch. Parch, my favorite non-alcoholic agave cocktail. Ooh, that's a good one. Sedona Spritz.
Thank you, Parch. This is amazing.
Shout out, Parch. Appreciate you guys.
Shout out, Parch. This is amazing, incredible, and is really doing it for me right now.
There you go.
Shots
Paul
pony, so
Parch.
I'm not going to say anything. I'm joking.
It's delicious. I love
Keeping it business over here. All right, to kick things off to each of the panelists, what just sparked your deep love for the great outdoors? Any particular experience, adventure, or life event that just led you to spending extensive time out in nature? We can either go down the line, or if one of you feels so compelled to answer first, please go ahead.
I'm going to jump in just because when no one picked up the mic, we were like, whoosh. I think challenge. No matter what you do in life, there's always like leveling up, and getting outdoors has provided that for me. If I had to say one specific moment, it'd be like getting up to Triplet Rocks, which is Justin, like that kind of stuff. It's an extremely difficult endeavor that's barely considered a hike, where you're like scrambling and climbing through brush and all this stuff. And just doing something like that you might be familiar with type 2 fun, where you're like not enjoying it while you're doing it, but when you're in the car with your friends driving back, you're still all in shock and you're still not enjoying it. But then later you come back and you're like, that was epic. I'm so glad I did that with you. So those are like kind of the moments that help you just experience challenge and in adventure. And yeah, I'm always chasing that no matter what I do. So, help me grow as a person. Sorry, go on.
And also, where are you originally from and where are you currently at, so the audience knows?
Shoot, sorry, I missed that part. I'm originally from Ontario, California, and I'm currently in Glendora. I love Southern California. I don't think I'm going anywhere anytime soon, so this place is awesome.
All right, who's got next? What sparked your love for the great outdoors?
I can go next, but I'm guessing I have to introduce myself just like he
Yeah,
did.
feel free to let the audience know where you're originally from and where you're currently at.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nikki. I'm originally from the Philippines. I moved out to the United States in 2011. I have always loved the outdoors, and I have been so lucky to have lived in places that have the most epic outdoors. When I moved to the United States, first off, moving from the Philippines has some of the most beautiful, waters I've ever seen anywhere. It's crystal blue and clear. The diving is epic. I highly suggest it if you are looking for a place to go, diving and just enjoy some island life. The Philippines is a great place to go to. And then I moved to the United States, and the first place I moved to is Colorado. Oh my gosh, that blew my mind. I had never seen mountains that big in my entire life. There are no mountains that big in the Philippines. And then I moved to Southern California, and that just kept getting better and better. And now I am trying to figure out a way to convince my husband to move to the Eastern Sierras. I want to move to Bishop, California. Okay, babe? Don't forget that.
Shout out to Benjamin Krause. I'll never forget that story of McClure Meadows where Nikki got proposed to there.
Yes, he did. He did a really, really great job and proposed to me outdoors with a beautiful flower. He didn't bring a ring or anything because he knew that I would find it. So instead, he proposed with a beautiful wildflower. But really, the thing that really sparked my love for the outdoors, I was a free diver, a scuba diver in the Philippines. But I've been thinking about this question lately since the podcast too, because I think you asked me this question as well. But I now can distinctly remember the first time I ever went snowboarding in the mountains of Colorado, and I stood up at the very top after getting off of the lift and just looking at the expanse of the Rocky Mountains. And in that moment, I had a spiritual moment. I felt so small. And it was such a great feeling because it made me realize that in context to everything in my life, everything, all the problems that I had was just so small in comparison to how grand our planet is, how long it has existed, and the changes that it has been, and the wisdom it's willing to share if we're open to hearing it. And so I think right there and then I fell so madly in love with the mountains. And Ben has been trying to convince me to move to Hawaii, and I'm like, I cannot live without the Rockies. I cannot live without the mountains, because to me, they just are the epitome of just beauty and everything that the outdoors stands for.
Wow, what an answer. Felt that one. All right. Now, my man Rolland, what you got for us?
Man, kind of in the same way with snowboarding. I'm Rolland, by the way, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It's such an honor to be up on the stage. Man, I like to take it back, and I always say that we are all reintroduced to the outdoors, because when we were all kids, I just had a daughter, so it's been on my mind a lot lately. We all played outside as kids, and we forget that that is also being outdoors. And when we're outside when we're kids, without shoes, it was always like an adventure, you know, like it was unstructured adventure time. And so revisiting the outdoors when I was older, I did some research on the PCT. I've hiked 100 miles of that. It really reignited this, like, wow, it almost like there are rules outside, you know, but it's like when you strip yourself of like our daily grind and you're just out there like on a trail, you can really, it's like an experiment. It's like a laboratory in which you can like find certain strengths in yourself, pull out things that you didn't know were there, remember things that were there that you forgot. Because I think a lot of times on long hikes, or even when you're camping, the more time you spend outside, ultimately what it's doing for us is just making us mindful. Each step is a meditation, each breath is a ritual, and you do that more and we spend more and more time out there, and we reignite, we reimagine, and we relearn. I think a lot of parts of us that we initially lost, you know? So coming back to outdoors me being older, it really was a lot of fun, first and foremost, but I think it's a respite from our daily lives that I think has extreme benefits. What's coming to mind is like Shinrin-yoku, the practice of just being mindful in nature can lower your cortisol levels in 20 minutes just staring at trees. A lot of research is coming out of Japan. And so on this journey of campthropology and being with everybody here, I've come across a lot of me and my wife call them breadcrumbs, where you're like, oh wow, this is all kind of aligning for me in certain ways. And you can call it coincidence, you can call it however you whatever your religious practice or your spiritual practice, but following that, for some reason, always leads to nature, and nature always provides more than just, oh man, get teary-eyed, more than just like substance. It provides so much clarity, and that's, anytime I think about outdoors, it's like when I was a kid, just like skating down the street, and kind of like you're saying, even though it was like kind of like in suburbia, like just like, whoa, like seeing trees go by and then like looking at grass, because I was always going to crash, so I needed somewhere to fall. But just like really noticing like that is also outdoorsy to me, you know, like rediscovering that. It doesn't have to be in a mountain. It could be in your patio, in a park. Getting outside is what's important, and I think that's what we all are here for, and to spread the celebration of being outside.
Right on, right on. Love the answer from each of the panelists. Thank you, Rolland, coming all the way from San Diego. How was that trek up here?
Man, y'all's traffic is real, I have to say that much, man. It was like,
No joke.
yeah, it was like, save 5 minutes, added 15. Okay.
What part of San Diego again?
I'm in North County, so Vista
right.
area.
And Nikki over there literally just came from teaching a camping course at REI, right?
Yes. Yeah, today was actually our first confident camper class. So mastering your outdoor gear, because by knowing what your gear and what gear you need to buy or already have in your closet, it actually is a very empowering experience and helps you learn how to be safe and enjoy the outdoors.
Thank you for making it on time.
I was literally watching my clock. I tried not to make it obvious to my students, but I was like teaching and then looking at my clock, and then teaching and then looking at my clock, which, by the way, is amazing because my team always complain that they cannot get me to stop talking. That is my problem. Our classes always go over time.
Shout outs to Way Out Wild. It was really fun taking the wilderness survival course video. And I know RJ got to go to work right after this, so I'm very grateful for each of their time here. One for them driving far, coming from a class, one that got to go to work. So thank you for making time to be up here for the community. So now that we've learned more about each of you and your relationship more with the outdoors, I'd love to highlight the incredible work you each do. Please just walk us through the heart of your platform, the type of work you do, how you engage with the outdoor community, and the mission that drives your brand.
I already went first time.
Okay, it's either Nikki or Rolland. Whoever wants to take it up, who feels
I'll go,
compelled.
yeah. So my platform basically, I started in 2022, just kind of posting on social media. And of course, like everybody sees like the big overlander builds and all that stuff. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. So I'm going to post some content out there. I just bought a Subaru Outback. It was stock, and I went out there and started posting videos. And I did a quick video on basically how to find dispersed campsites. And I realized that a lot of people didn't know how to find dispersed campsites, and I was in the process of learning. So what that told me is there was a big gap in knowledge when it comes to the outdoor space, even when it comes to just car camping, because you also have to have the gear, to be safe out there. My channel's built on keeping your camp safe, clean, and informed. And once I realized that a lot of people that didn't even really know how to start camping, I was like, I don't want to do this overland content. I want to do basic educational content to get people outside, to alleviate some of the pain points that are kind of preventing people from going outside. So one of the things that I'm kind of known for on social media is the epic poo view, because a lot of people are like, well, if I'm dispersed camping and there's no amenities, how do I go to the bathroom? So I did a bunch of videos on how to do it the most hygienic way. I have a golden bucket. I made it fun, accessible. That's what I'm trying to do, at least to alleviate some of the pain points, because that was the first question a lot of people asked was, how do I do that? And it was preventing them from going outside. So I was like, let's take the stigma away. Let's make it fun. Let's make it entertaining. Literally probably 1 million people plus have seen me pooping out in nature. You're welcome, Mom. But yeah, and then went from there to a lot of other different pain points. How do you cook outside? How do you wash your hands outside? How do you do a lot of these different pain points that if you don't have a community to show you, a lot of times you're not good. It's really hard to learn. It's really rare that someone will just go out and camp by themselves and it's like, I'll figure it out along the way, So I wanted to provide that community, even if it's online and in person, so that people can learn, go outside. We're going to start hosting group trips this year. I have kind of a group that we camp with called Camp Homies. And we just want to get people outside, starting with the basics. We'll start at like a regular campground and then eventually move to overlanding, quote unquote, or like car camping, because a lot of spaces in that we camp in, our public lands are getting kind of crowded. The reservation system is crazy. So I do a lot of that kind of content too. The best ways to get a campsite, because sometimes, just because it's off season doesn't mean it's closed. It could be first come, first served. So basically, I just want to alleviate a lot of pain points in that, so people can come out and get outside comfortably and keep their camp safe, clean, and informed. So it's basically my channel in a nutshell.
Love it, love it. Also, thank you, Rolland. We actually recorded in person at O'Neill Regional Park in Orange County, if you guys aren't familiar. And what I always took from that recording was he treated me to this amazing camp dinner with all of his Snow Peak gear. And I was like just so grateful. I felt like really a part of the family. So thank you for that special recording, Rolland.
Dude, I would love to have you anytime. Anytime, hit me up.
And that campground is dope. It's like a gem, right?
It was the first time I've been there too. So that was really cool. Yeah.
Right on. Thank you for your response. All right, you got Nikki up next. What you got?
Could you repeat the question again?
Absolutely.
Just so that I have it right in my brain.
Yeah, so just walk us through the heart of your platform, the type of work you do, how you engage with the outdoor community, and the mission that drives your overall brand.
So I actually started by creating my own content creation channel, or not channel, but Instagram page. And I just started talking about my experience as a woman. What was my experience as a woman coming from a conservative country, and what that meant for me in terms of how I related to the outdoors. And the more I started hanging out with more women, I actually started guiding as a volunteer for On Trail With, who is our brother tribe. Way Out Wild actually spawned from that tribe. And when I was guiding for On Trail With, I started, noticing even more. And this is something that has been a lived experience for me, but I just started observing that women actually craved and really needed more spaces that they can feel safe. Not saying that On Trail With wasn't safe, it's just a space where they can be around other women who had the same shared experiences as them, that could also feel free in their ability and in their own time and in their own effort to learn about the outdoors. They didn't have to be around, competitiveness or competition. They don't have to be around pressure because someone else is so much better, or has way more experience in the outdoors. Historically, men have had more experience in the outdoors just because they are, when you're little boys, they're the ones that are encouraged to go outside, go play, take risks, So from there, from On Trail With, I had a crazy idea. I was like, well, what if we made our own outdoor group? Just all women. What if we created a safe space for women to find themselves, a safe space for women to discover their strength, their confidence, their ability, all the things that make, that women historically didn't really get the opportunities to learn as kids. And so Way Out Wild was born from that. And we just started as a hiking group. I remember my first ever hike I had hosted and nobody showed up. I had put all of the work and effort and nobody showed up. And I remember, and this story is really, really significant to me because I remember going home to my husband and I just literally came home and I started crying. I said, nobody showed up. I put in all of this effort. I really believe in this. I really believe in creating this space for women, but nobody showed up. I bawled so hard and all he did was hug me and told me that it's not gonna be this way. Like, you're gonna look back on this moment and you're gonna remember where you started and where you are now, and it's not gonna be like this forever. And look, it isn't. We have a growing team at Way Out Wild. We have now 20 volunteers. We run camping trips, about 3 to 4 camping trips a year, 3 to 4 backpacking trips a year. We teach beginner backpacking courses and educational classes. And I thank my husband, Ben, wherever he is. Where is he? I thank my husband.
Where you at, Benjamin?
I thank my husband, Ben, for being my steadfast encourager, the person who never gave up on my dream, even when I wanted to give up on it. And now I get to share this dream with other women who believe in the same things that I do, that women deserve these spaces. And so that's what we're pretty much all about. And we're not trying to say, oh, we don't like men and, we appreciate all of the allies. We appreciate allies in our community that continue to support us. It's just because women have different lived experiences. And so it's just, we create the space for women to feel that safety, to be able to find themselves, through the outdoors. And yeah, so that's what we're all about.
Thank you so much, Nikki, for sharing that story. Really cool story about Nikki and how I first met her. I was doing Cucamonga Peak. Can't remember exactly who I was with. I think like 2 other members of the Just Right crew. And I was going past Ice House Saddle, and then apparently Way Out Wild was on the trail the same day, and Nikki was coming back helping down a hiker that was feeling sick, and we crossed paths on one of these like sketchy narrow ledges. And I was like, "Are you Nikki?" And we finally like met each other first time in person, and it was then and there that I asked her if she would be on the show. So it's really cool how some of these conversations and these guests actually end up on, like, it's these spontaneous random moments, like meeting in the mountains. So it's like really cool. I just wanted to
that was really cool because I had been following you for a while, and then you came up to me and said, is that you, Nikki? I was like, oh my God, Justin, what? And I was like trying to be also considerate to one of our participants who's having altitude sickness. So I was like, yes, I'll go on your podcast. Now I gotta go.
Yeah, that was a special moment. It showed you being a great leader in that moment too. So
thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, we got RJ Soria, Traverse Outdoors.
That was extremely inspiring. Thank you for that. I think if there's anything everyone here has dealt with, is failure is a learning opportunity. And if you just stop there, you're never going to grow. And so that's awesome. I'm glad you kept following. Here we are. Also, I think you are from LA because a golden toilet is crazy. Oh. Like, what are you talking about? No, that's awesome. And okay, so what do I do? It's outdoor videos I document trip reports that I do for like really gnarly cross-country adventures in Southern and Central California, so that other people can learn to make. Thank you so much. From those mistakes. So ideally, again, trip reports, instructional videos, micro decisions, things like that, because that's literally what we're doing out here, is constantly adjusting to conditions to items that are not under our control, because control is an illusion. And yeah, it's for people who are leveling up. They want to climb Mount Baldy or do the 6-pack of Peaks challenge, eventually get to Mount Whitney, that kind of stuff. I've done like 7 out of the 14 years here in California, and a lot of cross-country stuff that's our crazy endeavors. And the goal is to reduce the incidents that happen in our local community. There's a lot of these accidents are avoidable. Don't get me wrong, the most professional mountaineers that I've ever followed have died doing something that, they loved, for something that was completely out of their control. But the goal with what we're trying to do, and I think all 3 of us can speak to this, is reduce the things that you can control. So it's about planning before you leave, is probably the biggest thing I'd speak to, is like getting ahead of all of the weather and the altitude and all of that, and just being a little bit more prepared. But yeah, I built a community over the last like 9 years, doing an event called the Fool's Traverse, and group hikes and group trail runs.
Fool's Traverse.
And the same thing as you. It's like the first year was like, I had this idea to do that event. It was like 35 of my closest friends showed up to a booth at 2 a.m. and I didn't have a license or anything. And the first person to show up was a sheriff. And I was like, holy shit. And I'm sitting there with the booth that's lit up and like staring at him, and he just does a lap and then takes off. He's like, I don't care what you shoot me. And then everyone came out. We got a sponsorship from Lagunitas and all these cool companies, RI, Patagonia. And that event is now 6 years running. We're on our 6th year, and I literally don't promote it because so many people come. It's just such a fun event. 11 peaks, 26 miles, and over 10,000 feet of vertical gain in a day, with a massive community of psychopaths. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. It's a lot of stuff most people would never step into, but even if you don't enjoy doing it, you'll probably have a good time watching it. Canelo is my dog over here. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry. I left him alone over there, and everyone's taking care of him, taking turns like petting him and stuff. He's very needy, much like his dad. And yeah, his longest effort is 25 miles with 8,000 feet of vertical gain. He's an endurance animal. He's bred for endurance, for hunting side by side with a horse over thousands of years, which is pretty epic. I got that he landed in my hands, because we suit each other sometimes. I think that's, what else? Did I miss anything?
I just want to say I gotta show you a lot of I gotta show you a lot of love, RJ, because you're episode 7 in my inaugural 10 episodes, and to have a guest of your stature and your experience just gave me a lot of confidence as a podcaster and to just keep going, because I was like, dude, this guy's already been in the game for a while. And I don't know if a lot of you are familiar, or maybe you are, but it was like his platform and his brand and his outdoor apparel, Traverse Outdoors, because it's a few different things that really grew my love and appreciation for Southern California mountains. I have so much gear from RJ. I have the Mount Baldy t-shirt, Rattlesnake Peak, Cactus to Clouds. I have a base layer. We did like a custom collab of like the San Gabriel Mountains, Angeles National Forest, Sierra Nevada map. So I just wanted to give you your flowers, because you really gave me a lot of confidence early on when I had no clue what I was doing.
I appreciate that, because that is something that I probably don't ever share enough, because it just kind of happened. Like, when we started doing this, it was Jeremy and I, like, helping out wherever he can.
Jeremy Boggs.
Right there, dude. And I just kept having ideas, and he kept saying, yeah, that's good. And
I'll go along.
That's usually how it starts.
Yeah. And it was just like, we kept growing. Like, at the time, there wasn't a big community out there. Instagram was brand new, so the community that was built was like, yeah, I'll meet up with you and do some hiking. Nobody ever does this. And now it's like a very different beast. But a lot of these like hikes that people are doing, like we were getting them from like trip reports that were on these obscure web forums that of people that were like maybe 50 people had done it at the time. And I am proud to say that we helped build this community like for social media. So thank you, Jeremy. That's dope, man. But yeah, thank you as well for mentioning that.
Of course, of course. I don't know if you guys have probably saw on social media, but RJ's had quite some viral content lately about Mount Body and the safety issues and just posing questions to the community of things to think about. Because as you know, Mount Body was closed for the first time, I don't think it's ever happened, right? Because of like the winter storms or the deaths, right, RJ?
Besides COVID, that was basically the first time that anything like that had happened. And this gets into like perspectives that I don't like necessarily. Like, I'm not trying to dig at anybody for like how they feel about this, because I think a lot of people were torn on whether closures are necessary or not. But it is something that not a lot of people are informed on how the Forest Service works and the lack of funding that they experience. Sorry, can you not be there? I love you.
He misses Papa.
Yeah, and
Nah, he was just agreeing with you.
oh yeah, he's like, I love that. Yeah, he actually is opposite on the perspective. That's why he's whining. We fight about this all the time. Yeah, so the closure happened, and being, getting on these mountains for such a long time, I had a lot to say about it. And I think the biggest thing I would say is like what I was saying earlier is like, a lot of people think that you can just get outdoors and you have this experience, and like other people are less experienced than you, and that means you're safe because you've done it a million times, climb Mount Baldy every which way. But that is just simply not the case. Like you could fall down a flight of stairs and you can get into an accident on the 10 freeway, and those things just happen in life. So that's where the closure is. I don't want to get into opinions, but it's just like a little weird that we're trying to protect people from ourselves. I think we could do better at planning and also just accept the risk that we are taking on when we get outdoors, because there is risk but that's hard. Everyone's gonna get empathetic and emotional about that, and there's no way around it. You just gotta keep pushing them.
Yeah, to add to that, I think all three of us are aware that it's definitely risky, and I think our whole goal is to offer education to alleviate some of those risks, because that's the most important, and being safe out there and treating the land with respect and having a good time, and that comes with preparation. It's not really all the time you can just get up and go if you're completely green. So we try to be resources so that everybody can get out there and answer questions. I'm sure you guys are the same. If you DM any questions you have, camping, hiking, anything, for sure.
And then, sorry. Go ahead. You go.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I try to, or one of the things that we tell our students to help people understand and perspective is most of your life you grow up learning how to handle the front country. Front country is the city, right? You learn not to go down this alley. You learn how to, drive your car and do all these different front country things. You learn how to go home before dark and all these other things. Those are skills that your parents, your environment teaches you in the front country. The common misconception is those are the same skills in the backcountry, but they're not. Like, the backcountry is a whole different world that not a lot of us, and just only very few people, have had the privilege to actually be taught, how to navigate. And so, to be able to think that, I can just walk in from the front country to the back country and just put on a pair of shoes and walk and go is, it's a little bit more, complicated than that. But neither do we also want to scare people. The idea is to educate everyone, right? Because that's how we grew up as kids. We went to school so that we're educated about the world. It's the same thing about the backcountry. It's just a little bit of education can go a long way. And also, just because you're educated, there are two different types of people that end up usually getting rescued. It's usually greenies or people who have been experienced for a very long time, and that overconfidence can also step in. So it's like always remembering to be cautious, to be safe, but also to have fun.
So all three of you beat me to my next question pretty much, but
I didn't realize that was happening. I was like, damn.
But the
You
most
started
perfect transition. I think I kind of set them up though. But the next question is, so a big commonality and theme amongst each one of you is how each of you champion wilderness and backcountry safety and outdoor education. Are there any wisdom, lessons, resources, or even specific tools that you can share with the community to help keep them more prepared, safe, and confident to explore the outdoors? Yeah, which is point.
The biggest thing I can tell, everybody about the first step to knowing, or understanding the backcountry, and I'm not plugging necessarily for Way Out Wild. We are a nonprofit company that teaches outdoor education, but take a class. It doesn't have to be through us. We would love it if we would come and see you, but it doesn't have to be through us. Take a class. Just because you think that hiking is simply putting a pair of shoes and walking outside, it is more than just that. So there's nothing wrong with being more informed, being more educated. This is the stuff that we learned in the front country. The more we know, the more we are empowered to make the right decisions. This is the same thing as the backcountry. So take the class. It might just be like a hiking class. That might sound pretty silly because it's like, well, what's so hard about hiking? I just need to put on a pair of shoes and go. There's always going to be more to that because that is not something that most of us have had to grow, experience and grow up in our life. So I know that, as I usually tell people, it's like, instead of taking or going on that brunch on a Saturday, use the funds to be able to learn something. Continue learning. Don't ever stop because, growing is how we get to a point where we're better for all of humanity.
Great response. Great response.
And for the environment.
Leave no trace, exactly. Question again, sorry.
Yeah, so
resources. Oh, actually, all three of us. And then, sorry.
tools, resources that you can share with the community to help keep them more prepared, safe, and confident in exploring the outdoors.
You got you. A mapping platform of some sort. That's the number one resource you could possibly have. It fits into your phone. You don't have to carry maps anymore. A lot of people would disagree with me on that, but they're usually much older than I am.
I love maps. I collect them. I'm an old soul.
I'm old. No, they're necessary. Like in a backpack, you do backpacking. Way more critical than a day hike in the front country where you can see the city and all of that. But with backpacking, I'm absolutely carrying maps, and I have them, and I have a big Angeles Forest map on my wall on a frame. So I'm with you. And I have a lot of maps. We'll talk about this later.
Show me your maps. I'll show you mine.
Where's your husband? I'm just kidding.
Oh my God.
He didn't hear anything.
I'm kidding. I'm teasing. Where are we getting from? Oh yeah, resource. So I use Caltopo. I am sponsored by them. I'm going to say that now. They are, but I've been using them far longer than I knew they were interested in sponsoring me. As long as I've been doing this, around 13 years. Incredible resource for doing anything is just knowing something as simple as a GPX file. Looking at the terrain, the sloping, little shady, the amount of vertical you're going to climb, the weather, all of that is built into these apps. It doesn't have to be that one. I don't know the other names. I'm not going to do it because I'll probably get in trouble. But it's just about preparing as much as you possibly can. You're never going to eliminate risk, but you can minimize it as much as possible and allow yourself to make decisions rather reacting to occurrences. It's probably the best thing I could say. Be prepared and just, travel safely. That's the compacted version of it. But I will plug one more thing. I'm doing a full video on this exact topic. And it's going to be out in like 2 weeks. So stoked for you to talk about it here.
And read some good trip reports because Traverse Outdoors and RJ has some of my favorite trip reports I've ever read of certain trails. Typically the hardcore ones in California. What you got for us, Rolland?
So I love that concept of front country. That's amazing. So if anybody has a 605 front country driving class, I need to take that coming up here. Because I come from San Diego and I always go to Angeles National Forest. A lot of the homies back there, shout out Alex, showed me a lot of your guys' kind of home turf. I'm Laguna Mountain, Cleveland National Forest. So coming up here, I always have to go through the 605. That's the scariest part of every journey. But all that to say, I like the concept of front country. I'm a big advocate for practice in your house, in your backyard. Don't buy a tent and have it be the first time when you're out in the trail setting it up. Like, start with the very basics. I think we forget that a lot. Use your water filtration system at home. Learn how to clean it at home. Set up your tent at home. Tie your shoes at home, because a lot of times if the weather's bad and you're like, oh my God, and there's windy everywhere, and you're like, great, I wish I would have figured this out before. So the practice and the ritual of that becomes kind of a muscle memory when you're out there. And all that can start at home. I set up, when I get a new tent, that's what I do. The first thing I do is go in the backyard and set it up. Look at the design, look at the features it has that has to weather too, like if you're gonna set up a rain fly or not. This would need to be staked down, different things like that. I think the 101s we often forget so much. And again, that's what kind of my channel is about. But kind of building that confidence, especially if you're extremely new to outdoors, of just getting used to your gear, because there could be a point when you're relying on that gear for your safety and, and maybe your life outside. So you want to be familiar with it. Again, use this all as a resource if you want. We're there for you. Like I think the beautiful thing about everybody here and all of our individuals too is we have communities. So even if I can't find the answer for you from me, I will find it from our community for sure. So there's an abundance of information out there, and I always like to say, just like keep it simple. At first, get familiar, get comfortable with your gear. Go out on a little hike. It doesn't have to be if you're brand new. You don't have to immediately go up to a huge cliff. Make your way towards that. And that you have RJ a goal up there. But you can start in your neighborhood walk. Bring your gear. Wear the shoes. Wear the pants. Wear the rain fly. If it's raining at your house, put on your rain jacket and say, "Let me see failure points on this. Is it gonna leak under my armpit?" So that it doesn't happen when you're out on trail. So you can alleviate some of those things. So ultimately, have a safe and better time outside, I would say.
Right on. To follow up on the question I just asked, how do each of you personally balance pushing your limits with managing risk in the outdoors?
I spoke on this earlier. Sorry, I keep ruining this. You should be pushing boundaries. I think a lot of especially what we see on social media right now in response to people's accidents and search and rescue posts is like, that idiot, what were they doing out there? How dare they waste our resources and tax dollars and all this stuff. And all of that is like, you have to, the only reason we're all here is because we made all the mistakes we're talking about. Yes. That's it. It's a part of the game. And the one thing we could do is share how to make those much easier and approachable. So like, yeah, you're taking some risk, but not massive ones. And you have to push those boundaries to do anything in life. So that's what I love about the outdoors is it's just like, we live in air conditioning and we all have our own car and we're never more than a mile away from literal fresh food every day. And like, it's crazy how comfortable our lives are. And then we get out here and get to have this, as a choice, get to have this experience of getting outdoors and grounding ourselves and touching grass and smelling a tree. So don't ever be afraid of taking risk, but absolutely, push yourself a little bit and just, like you said, read your manuals and test out your gear and your seat just for fun and understand how much flow your filter is going to have and all of that, just bit by bit.
Basically the same answer I had a while ago, taking a class. So one of the things that myself and some of our team members are actually about to do, in May we're going to take a mountaineering course through the International Alpine Guides. We want to keep pushing the boundaries, especially because even more so, even if in the outdoor sphere there's still overwhelmingly more male representation than there are women representation, in mountaineering it's even way, there's over astronomically more men that actually mountaineer than there are women. And it's something that we've been wanting to do just to be able to push ourselves and also to encourage other women to do, to do the same thing, to see that it is a possibility, that they can push themselves and push their boundaries to try things that are harder. And so for us to be able to balance, doing something that historically is actually one of the more riskier outdoor activities, is to prepare ourselves, and by actually taking a class, like education, like being prepared, knowing what we're about to get ourselves into. So the same thing as I mentioned earlier, it's like really, giving yourself that chance and that opportunity to learn and be better educated before you get outside.
Thank you for your response.
Definitely, yeah. Piggybacking off those, I think for sure a lot of the space that a lot of my communities are into, it kind of goes the same thing when they're talking about hiking. Like when we're going on like crazy off-road camping trips, you know, like you need to know the trail conditions, kind of all the same things. You need to have the right gear on you, you know, traction boards. There's a lot of education that comes before, whether it's your body or your car, that need to be tuned up. Get your oil change, get all those things like that. You know, just how you guys probably prep for hikes too. The same thing with that. And they do have classes too for overlanding, you know, like looking at how to recover a vehicle, you know, the practices of tell someone that where you're going. There's a lot of different things to stay safe out there. But yeah, just familiarizing education. I think we all across the board, education is key, and that's how we're kind of combating a lot of the pushback that we probably get on our social media sites about things like pin dropping, you know, like pushing back with education, not just kind of handing someone saying, oh, here's this pin at the top of this summit, good luck, you know, but really like before even considering giving a location, I always get asked, like if someone says, hey, where's this dispersed campsite? I initially go to, what kind of vehicle do you have? Do you have any experience going dispersed camping, like, you know, so that I can kind of gauge where they are. And if they can answer those separately, most of the time I feel confident sharing a pin with them and just kind of scoping the vibe out too, because, you know, ultimately everybody's kind of a stranger on social media. But when you keep folding people into the community, like understanding that they also respect education and alleviating some of the, I think, thoughts that we have when we are sharing, whether it's gear, whether it's education, but like making those communities that also are on the same page that we're on, for sure.
I definitely have like a lot of people who reach out for like GPX files. If you're just here's this little like secret. If you're just saying
Where's this
like,
spot, dude?
send me a GPX file or something like that, but that's not really a great approach because now you're making me ask, you know, like. But most people, for like generally, if they really want to go there and they're like into it, they'll like literally give you their resume, and I'm like, hell yeah, that's awesome. That's what I'm looking for. Like we can talk. That's the best way to go about it.
Right on, right on. All right, thank you for answering that follow-up question. And now to go back to the live Q&A panel portion, I believe we have someone up. We have Milton representing
hey,
LA Trail Killers.
What up, y'all? How's it going?
Great to have you up. What question you got for the panel?
Yeah, I got a question for y'all. Still kind of formulating in my head, but just want to give y'all your flowers because thank you for being here. And also, Justin, thank you for having this community and creating this community and bringing everyone together. It's really awesome. And also, like the people that you bring upon your podcast, like they're all folks who create accessibility, inclusivity, and confidence for folks who aren't that like versed in nature, and that's awesome to see. And I guess my question for y'all would be, I mean, you know, the political landscape keeps changing, and when conversations towards conservation start shifting as well. And I guess my question for y'all is like, what do you feel that could be done, or have you seen be done in these hiking communities that we've created towards conservation, or towards keeping that conservation, or what is now a national park, or what is not going to be a national park in the future days that are coming? So yeah, that's my question. Leave it to it.
Great question, Milton.
I think a great start for this is already what the hiking community does by taking people and inviting people outdoors and creating those inclusive spaces, those safe spaces, and those educated spaces to get everybody outside. Why? It's really, really hard for us to care and love something we have zero relationship with. If you've never hugged a tree, if you've never spent a time just watching bees move from one flower to the next, which is my favorite thing to do, I will stop in the middle of the trail for a bee. And just, you know, spending time with plants, smelling the fresh air, it's really hard for us to want to fight for, and this is just how we are, like, you know, we fight for each other, for, you know, for our rights, and, you know, for a continued happy and prosperous existence, because we build relationship with one another, right? We have communities. Well, we have to have and build these communities with the natural spaces as well, with the leaves, with the trees, with the plants, with the animals, because that's the only way we would even, you know, that we could really understand what it takes to preserve, conserve, and protect them. So go out there, and for all of the hiking communities who are here, continue inviting people outside, even if it's just an easy hike. That is the first step to them, you know, standing up and wanting to preserve what we have.
That was solid.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's such a true point like that. I think all of us do it collectively. We host these nature gatherings, these community group hikes. Like, we're trying to build that deep bond between the land and people, because you're not going to care about the trail or the mountains if you have no relationship with it at all. So with all of our community events, that's something that's always working underneath of the surface. You have to learn to love it in order to care about it. You can't just like it, you have to love it. So that's what we hope to do with each of our platforms.
And I think like starting on a small level, like exactly like you said, going on a hike, do some trail work, like find your local maintenance, because these trails don't exist just because they're there and they were built once. They're constantly worked on all the time, and people don't even know that. And pick up some trash, find some Mylar balloons, throw them in your pack. That poop bag that somebody left there, if you have a glove in a bag, take it with you. Whatever. I promise I don't do that. No one ever does that. And just finding that appreciation for outdoor spaces in small ways will help you like to understand the bigger picture of like why we need to first protect those places. So same exact thing. I just wanted to reiterate that.
And RJ, real quick, I know you're familiar with a lot of the trail crews. You want to shout any of them out that people can look up and join, like trail restoration efforts or trail maintenance?
Yeah, so Mount Wilson Bicycling Association is fantastic. They've been probably one of the more long-standing ones besides the San Gabriel Wilderness Trail or San Gabriel Wilderness Association. Yeah, that's the one. And then also the who is that? Low Life Citizens Club. Respectable Citizens Club. I love that name. That's one of the newer ones, but they do excellent work. All of them are in the front country here, so you don't have to drive super far. And then Low Lives does. I think the Bicycling Association and Low Lives both do this, but they document it really well. They'll do like overnighters where they're making tacos and stuff, and you can have a good trip while you're doing some work, which is what we're doing out there anyway. It was like really cool because now you're building a community inside of the work aspect of like, this is hard. So yeah, those are three of them. There are probably more, but they're not hard to find. You can go on even SoCalHiker.net has a full list of these nonprofits and all this kind of stuff you can check out. So yeah, good ones.
Thank you for sharing. And so back in 2016, when I was at UCSD, I was a McNair scholar, like a first generation to go to college, and I did my research on transformative aspects of long distance hiking specifically. So that's why I went and did 100 miles of the PCT. And one of the things that people start doing after they have, let's say, like an experience with nature in which they're fundamentally changed on the inside, is they start spending their money different. So support brands, nonprofits like Way Out Wild, support the small ones that actually are doing the work, because a lot of times it is, when it comes to like, we can get into like staffing of national parks and closures, but that always seems like so insurmountable, so far away, when we forget that we can be spending our money in communities that are actually doing stuff for our communities that we live in, so that's another thing too. And even if you are going with some bigger brands, just, a quick Google search to see if they're supporting what you're doing and what you believe in, what you stand for. And that can go a long way, for sure. Being in a political climate, you can't talk politics without money. We do spend money on gear, so support brands that you like, that you align with, and those are the kind of small steps to help to support the kind of mission that all of us are doing.
Great responses from all the panelists. Looks like we got a familiar face. We've got a question for the panel. We got Elements of Daisy. How you doing?
Great. Congratulations, Justin. Happy birthday. Happy anniversary. My question is, because I like to know everybody's secrets, what's an app or a gear that has been a game changer for your backcountry adventures that it's not like something common, I guess. So I guess just a gear, an app, or something that you have used and it has been a game changer for your backcountry adventures. Secret weapon, yeah.
Great question. By the way, Elements of Daisy was a past guest on our show and was a part of the first ever live podcast show 3 years ago. So give it up to her.
She's an endurance animal too. She does like 100Ks and 100 milers and 2,000 milers and all this crazy stuff. Just a heads up. I'm going to jump in because I'm already talking. Seek is a dope app to find biology in your area. If you haven't used that, it's incredible. It does animals too, all wildlife. You literally just take it, you download your area. It's like if you're in Southern California, you download that, and all the information is stored in your phone. It doesn't take up a lot of space. It's not heavy on your CPU or whatever. And so you just take a picture of the plant, and it gives you information about that in a Wikipedia. So you can learn about all the wildlife we have over here. And again, that's part of building your education and understanding of why you love these places. You'll find things like miner's lettuce. We literally eat it. Like there's so many resources out here. So that's pretty cool and a lot of fun. There's a bird call app for it too, but I don't know what the name of it is. Really good resource. You know that one?
Audubon or Merlin?
Yeah, Merlin. Yeah.
Shout out Dora. Yeah.
So it's like Pokemon Go, but for real life, which is tight. And then again, CalTopo. This is not a sponsored thing. I literally have used it for so long. It's the only way I plan all of my adventures. To use it. Get used to any mapping platform. Onyx is another one that's new, and their marketing is crazy. Just to have all that information with you. It's not hard. It's cheap. These resources are super cheap. And then what else was a secret weapon? As far as gear, probably packs. I am addicted to them. I have a few for day hiking and backpacking and canyoneering and everything under the sun, because it's where you store everything. And being, as you guys know from backpacking and whatever, is like being able to access everything all at once, but also have it in a secure place is incredible. So I'd probably say just make sure you have good packs and you're doing your research on that. Also, it needs to fit well for your back to feel good, so that helps too. All right.
Your pack becomes like your best friend. That's why when I have to upgrade to another pack, I shed a lot of tears for the old one. We've gone so far together.
Yeah, having the older used gear is it has so much character and sentimental meaning.
Just going off of what you were saying, the CalTopo, I like bringing hard maps because that is tried and true. We're bringing it for the JMT. We brought it for the High Sierra Trail last year. While the rest of my team are, trying to map it out on all trails, I am trying to map it out on the map. I like hard maps because the way that they are also built is they're not going to run out of battery. Just so you know, because, we have those maps on our phone. They're not going to run out of battery. They're also tear resistant and water resistant. So it doesn't matter how many times you pull them out of your bag, you will be able to use it. And it's just such a tried and true way because those maps are actually measured out by actual mileage versus by actual steps that we can sometimes get from apps like All Trails, which I'm not saying is not accurate, but we'll have like some off accuracy. I think, but CalTopo uses also those hard maps, right? And puts it on the app.
Scan the maps.
Yeah, scan the maps, exactly. So my secret and the thing that I love collecting is just maps. Even if I don't need them right now, if it's like part of my vision for the future, I will buy the map.
Hard maps for the record.
Hard maps. I know it's very old school, but
I like it. And I'm going to start with gear, something that I love hard maps, but I also carry a Fisher Space Pen if you're going to write on maps because it's under pressure. It's the pen that the astronauts take into space so you can write upside down, underwater. Because the ink cartridge is pressurized, it'll never fail you out there. They're really cheap. You can just, get them. REI has them. Those, when you're at the little line, not little, it's long sometimes, but there's all those, there's usually a Fisher Space Pen section. So I always carry a Fisher Space Pen with me. So that's where my gear rack. And my app rack is an app called
Canelo has joined the show.
He's welcome. He's like, oh yeah. An app called Peak Finder. It's actually really fun too, but it's basically you can I'm going to do it after here when we walk out. You can basically take a live video of those mountains and it'll overlay what every peak is and how far it is to that peak as the crow flies. And so then you can also see I don't know, I always like to, when I'm out there, kind of familiarize myself with peaks just so you can my wife's always like, you're always pointing out San Jacinto. I'm like, yeah, I like to point it out when I can see it because it recalibrates where I am in the world. And for me, that's something that the outdoors has also taught me. We spend a lot of time just floating around, not really realizing where we are in relation to where peaks that we've climbed or places we've camped. So I think that in the back of my mind, and maybe it's for you guys too, you're always kind of aware of where your favorite hikes are. And so that kind of calibrates where we are, our physical connection to the land, which I think is pretty cool and pretty important to do. So it's called Peak Finder.
Yeah, Peak Finder is very addicting because it's I think my favorite thing about Peak Finder, you're driving on the freeway, you can identify the mountain peaks. I I was right there. I was
Don't
up there.
do that while you're
Don't use all
driving.
the
Okay.
Please don't pull up Peak Finder.
I'm in the passenger seat. Okay?
That's some front country knowledge. That's something you should be aware of.
But yeah, very addicting app. But it makes you feel closer to these places, especially when you see them out in the distance and you've actually explored and tracked them. Do we got anyone else that wants to ask a question or show some love? Please walk up to the DJ booth.
If anybody wants to ask a question, you can get a Campthropology Golden Dart sticker. So
Boom,
see
there
me
you go.
afterwards. Yeah.
Those are really dope stickers, by the way. Oh, we got Adventure LA, Jeremy Boggs. Welcome.
What's up, everyone? Thank you all for coming. This is outstanding knowledge being dropped right now. Everyone is on a different journey up here, and the people and the communities they've reached out to. I want to know what the moment was where you said you were starting it for fun and you thought it would be good, and then you had an experience on one of your day hikes or one of your group events that really meant a lot to you, that you knew you were in the right direction and you were doing the right thing, and it just made you want to keep going. Because hopefully that will either inspire others to have that moment, or they've already had it and need to keep going.
Oof. Great question.
We were like trying to think back at all the logs.
I'll jump in real quick. It won't be too long, but I have over 100 episodes now, and there's been so many times when I wanted to stop and just kind of give up the show. But I had some of my biggest guests on the show. They actually reached out to me, and when I got the email or I got the DM, I was like, "Holy shit! Like, I've been using this guy's blogs or their website for years." To see that message meant the world to me, because I was like, "I'm on the right path. Keep doing it. Keep putting in the work. Keep putting in the effort." And you're on the right path, Justin. So, yeah, some of my biggest guests, they reached out, and that was, that really hits you in the feels,
All right, I got one. I was in, I think it's the borderline of Colorado and Utah, the Black Canyon Wilderness. I forget. It is a very remote, obscure place that no one goes to. This dog. And we went on a backpacking trip, a friend of mine and I, and it was like 92 degrees in a canyon the first day with no water. We were at mile 9 and we were like already out, and we were like, holy crap, this is a bad idea. Why didn't we think there would be water in this? We thought there'd be water in this dry canyon in the middle of nowhere. Hey, was you guys still gonna do that? Okay. And then day 2, we met up with the Colorado River. Couldn't find a place to camp because we realized that you have to get a permit for these sites. So like someone came up and they were like, "You're in our campsite," and we're like, "I'm so sorry, we're leaving." And we had to find a little desolate other one that wasn't used, and that was great. But then the second day, I was like, "We only have to do 6 miles. This is gonna be great." It was 6 miles of the most like cliff wall scrambling nonsense we've ever done, with terrible granite, and everything was loose. And that 6 miles took us like 8 hours, and we got across that section to where we could camp again. And the Colorado River, I don't know if you know this, but it is extremely dirty. A lot of farmers are just throwing whatever they want in there, and a filter isn't enough. So we were down to a trickle on our filter. It would take us a long time to get any water out of it. So just all this lack of preparation, stacking. And on day 3, we had 10 miles to go out, and we got to the exit of the canyon, and there was no trail and no route, and we could not find a specific ladder that was supposed to get us back to the car. We would have been 5 miles on an easy path back to the car if we made it out of the canyon, which is only a 200-foot ascent, and we couldn't get out. So I had to use my beacon. I hit up Jeremy. I didn't get a response. I think it was just like taking long or something, and we decided to just backtrack back to the Colorado, another 10 miles, and we did. But we got there, and this actually didn't go to plan. But where it did was we got back to Colorado, and we asked these campers who were basically, there's this opportunity where you can rent a boat, or like a raft that seats like 8 people, and it has food in it and all this stuff. So all these people were like basically luxurious camping right here next to us while we're like dying on day 3, and they have beer and all this stuff. And
did I not wave to you?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we talked to the first 2 groups, and they're like, "Sorry, we can't help you. Our raft is full, or whatever. We're just having a good time. We don't really want to help." Like we're on day 2 of our trip, and then we get to they're like, "There's one more group you can go reach out to," and we walked over to them, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, you guys want to come on our boat with us? Do you need beer or mushrooms?" And I was like, yes, yes.
What a combo.
Dude, and they the next day was them going back across from Colorado to Utah. We went with them. We were in a raft. We had everything we needed. And they drove us back to our car. And it went from being a kind of cool trip, because we liked the cross-country stuff with all those gnarly, like, that terrain. But, like, now we had a boat ride with cool people and beer. And it turned into an adventure. And that's just how it goes sometimes. Like, and that's why, again, like, yeah, we're mitigating risk, but we're also here to have a good damn time and just keep pushing it, like, so don't ever stop. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, RJ, for your story.
I think for me, so it takes a lot behind the scenes to run Way Out Wild. We started as a group. I'm so grateful for our team, our growing team, but the work that goes behind it is a lot, and sometimes it can, get to you. We, as a nonprofit, you're running purely on passion and belief in this one, vision for the future and, for everything. And the thing that I go back time and time again that, keeps me going is the experiences. I don't know what it is about Mount Baldy, but every time we lead women up there, it's just this phenomenal experience. It's like life-changing, and to be able to experience that, to be able to like be there and know that you gave them this experience, that you helped them conquer whatever it is that's going on in their life. Because when women come out, it's not only them trying to conquer this mountain, they're conquering their own mountains. And so every time we go to Baldy, without fail, there is always one of our participants who just breaks down into tears and just cannot believe. They'll start reiterating, their life story. I was divorced, I was this, I lost my kids, I lost something, and then look at me now. I cannot believe that I'm here, and thank you so much, for helping me get to this point. And it always, like, I'm tearing up right now. It brings me to tears, and it reminds me that even when this work is hard, it is worth doing.
Amen. And for all of you, if you happen to not be familiar with Mount Baldy, it's the tallest peak in LA County, 10,064 feet. I like to call it our local Mount Everest, but it's a true peak pillar in this community that I saw in a graphic. I don't know how true it is. Maybe the panel can confirm it, but I think it's the 7th most visited mountain in the entire world. Number 1 is Mount Fuji, and I think number 3 is like Mount Rainier. So I'm just going to go with that.
That's insane.
It's probably true.
18 million people in Los Angeles County, LA County alone.
I think ultimately what we've all experienced and what we're talking about is just straight up magic. In the truest form of awe, like you said, people say, I cannot believe either I did this is happening, how beautiful this is. And I think that ultimately on every trip, I'm always trying to look for that moment of magic in people, especially when you're bringing out first timers. And it goes from, like you said, all the preparation and hard work and the nerves and is dinner going to be good? These flies are biting me, this, all the things that we experience out there. There's always that moment where you can see it in someone's face and their whole demeanor just completely changes all of a sudden. And I have no word but magic. And a quick story about that that's kind of funny. Shout out to one of the homies, Tavo. We were in Angeles National Forest, and he brought one of his friends out there. And I'm not going to name him by name, but he's a homie now. But he's pretty hood, so he's out there kind of talking crap. He's like, what you guys doing out here? This is what you come do on the weekends? Like, yeah, fool, just chill. Like, it's fine. Have a beer. Relax. So the whole time he's like, whoa, we got to poop in that thing. I'm like, yes, dude. So he's kind of like, he's just participating, but he's kind of talking crap the whole time, like, oh, what are we going to eat, granola? That kind of stuff. So,
hey, granola's great.
That's what I'm saying. But I tried to tell him, I was like, gorp core, homie.
Calorie dense.
Dude, gorp core, dude. So he's fun with it. He's like rolling off. And then all of a sudden, I just walk over like 50 feet away, and I'm taking star photos, right? On my iPhone. And so I'm just sitting there, having a beer, just like really quiet. And I hear him go, hey, where'd Rolland go? And I'm like, oh, God, here he goes. So he comes over. And he's like, hey, well, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm taking photos. He's like, of what? I was like, dude, look. And literally he goes, oh my God. You know, he's basically grew up in Compton his whole life, and he's never seen stars that bright before. And so he was like, I was like, this is why. The whole day you were talking shit. This is why. And from that moment, it changed him at his core. He's like, is it always like this? I'm like, if you make the effort, if you give this magic a place to manifest, magic will come, you know? And so the whole rest of the trip, he's like, hey, whoa, the star's gonna be like that again tonight? I'm like, yeah, bro. As long as the weather's good, like, that's why I'm here. Yeah, and now he's like, hey, we're going to that place with the stars. I'm like, dude, the stars we can take you to a lot of different places. The stars will be beautiful. But that was the moment of magic for him. And it wasn't a typical, you know, way that it usually manifests. But to see that, I was like, dude, that's the magic doing its thing, man. It's doing its thing straight up. So looking for those moments of magic, I think all push us to continue doing what we're doing to share.
Great stories from each of the panelists. We're going to wrap up real soon. Do we have one more question? All right, because I know one of you has to like make it to work, so we'll make it quick. But what's up, Amina? Welcome to the stage. What you got for us?
Oh, I just wanted to ask, well, thank you for being here. It's also really nice to hear how you guys got to where you are now. I was actually, this is my 3rd year being at his anniversary. I actually started with LA Trail Killers, and I only met them twice before and went to the Philippines with them. I did not know them. I went with a bunch of strangers that are now, we still check in with each other. We still hike from time to time. My question is, there's a lot of people that want to hike. There's a lot of people, especially African-American people, that want to hike, but they don't know how to start, if that's the best way to describe it. Because sometimes we feel like we need to have the gear already, or we need to know certain things, so we get very discouraged to start. What is your recommendation of anybody who wants to start, that wants to get involved in a hike, and what do they need to bring? What kind of mindset do they need to have? And what's a good like parameter of where to start? Should it be like hills, more mountainous, more like stairs, like things of that nature, so they can build? Because I kind of went in all deep, but that's a personality thing, but not everybody's like that.
Outdoor Stairmasters are very fun.
I'll start off kind of taking it back again, is get out where you fit out, you know, like in your yard, in your neighborhood, going on walks, especially if you're super new. Hit some like local sidewalk and hills. You know, it doesn't have to be, starting there is like probably, I would say, essential, because you don't want to like get to a trailhead completely cold and be like, all right, I guess I'm going to do this. You know, that could be dangerous, and you're probably not going to have a good time. So I would just say start like a lot of local, even like graded trails. You know, if you go from sidewalk to like kind of graded like bike trails. I'm in San Diego, and we have a few that are like, I mean, you're kind of in like, I would say trails that wrap around neighborhoods, but then too, that can give you feel safe. You know, you don't feel like you're super far out there. And start with like, you know, a good bottle of water, know how much water you need, and you'll kind of gauge that based on like how you're walking around. And start there, and then you get to the more professional, the bigger hikes. But I'm always a big advocate for start wherever you can, you know, with what you have, and start small. You know, and feel the sidewalk, feel the curbs, feel your local mountains, feel your local hills. Get a feel for that, and then I think that also builds on your appreciation once you do get to like, you know, the Pinterest-worthy trails and stuff. I think a lot of times people see that and they're like, I want to do that, and they have no clue where to start. That a lot of times, especially with social media, that's like everybody's like end game. You know, when we're posting that stuff, and even for me being more of a car camper, like I started at like a county park camping. I could drive to 7-Eleven like 10 minutes, you know, like there's no shame in that, because I was able to test my gear, you know, feel confident outside. I don't know if you guys do a lot of solos, but like sleeping outside for the first time when you're miles from anybody, hopefully, weirdly, you don't know, it's scary. And just hearing the noises outside. So like, even if you have a patio, set up your tent on the patio, set up your tent in your backyard, and just see if you can stay out there and listen to the nature, because it's different than sleeping inside, you know. So I would say just 101, start simple, wherever you can, wherever feels comfortable for you, for sure, before you start kind of testing your limits.
I definitely just realized, I do mainly solo travel, so, and I've always had an avoidant attachment self. So like everything I do is based off of self-learning and Yeah, it starts. We're luckily enough to live in LA, and there are many like nature paths around that you can utilize to get from point A to point B. And yeah, maybe we're coming from a level of talking about our experience, which is like above and beyond or whatever. But we all started with those same trails, dirt paths that they might not have a lot to offer, but you're gonna see what you're made of, and maybe you're not in shape yet, but then you can do hill repeats there and level up slowly and start trail running and then start meeting people there, and they'll say, oh, you come here, huh? I saw you here 3 times. Like that would be my next addition, is build on community, find somebody on the trail, make a friend. I just met a guy in Glendora on Open Door who was practicing canyoneering. And if you're not familiar, that's rappelling waterfalls in the local mountains. And I just saw him there and I was like, dude, are you practicing rappelling? This is a very unique sport that not a lot of people do. And now we've been going to that same area every week to practice so we can get better and eventually go hit a canyon together. So I would say build on that, like community, local trails, find just, I think you have to step out of your comfort zone. That's at least what I had to do. And I ended up literally building a community out of it. So, I hope it takes some courage, but I think you got to have that to do this stuff anyway. So.
A lot of things in life is scary. It just takes you making that decision to step out there and try it. And I definitely agree that community is a great place to start. There are a ton of hiking groups in Los Angeles, and you can, go with them. And if they're not your flavor, you can go to another one and to another one and to another one. You can find them all on Instagram. If you're not an Instagram user, you can find them on Meetup. There's a lot of different groups out there that, you don't need to go. Obviously, they'll explain to you, what they're doing, and you don't need to go for those big peaks. But just start with an easy hike. Find a group that is just doing something simple in your local area. Let's say just Elysian Park or Griffith Park. These are pretty great parks, or any local park in your area. Because it's scary doing these things by yourself. And so sometimes just having other people there, around you will help that. And I know that it is scary to also like be around strangers, but there's, it's definitely a lot. It definitely gets rid of that discomfort just by knowing that if you are in an unfamiliar place, this is the same way as, if we're going to an unfamiliar location or an unfamiliar building, the first thing we do is we look if there are other people. So it's the same way with the outdoors. It's something that, that brings a lot of discomfort, but knowing that there are other people there could, help you get past that discomfort, or at least just get a taste and a try. You were raising your hands? Wow! See?
Yo, you're the entrance.
Yeah.
Everyone here is a catalyst for different groups and their networks, so props to everyone out there. Thank you to the audience for all those amazing questions. We are now about to wrap it up. Please give a round of applause to the panelists up here. Rolland Tizuela, Nikki Taylor, a.k.a. Adventure P, RJ Soria, and Canella. He's got to head out. Wait, RJ, can you come in for a quick panel photo? Yeah, real quick. Yeah.
Mario, grab that. Canella's in too.
Nicole, where are you at? And I definitely want to do a quick podcast guest recognition. That's a good one. Should we start down on the ground?
Yeah, that works. And then just like, give me some energy, some burn.
Video now.
Hey, you go!
Yeah. Nice.
All right, I want to do this real quick. If you are on the podcast, because there's a lot of you out there, please stand up. And some of you might be standing up already. I definitely want to just spotlight you real quick. If you're on the podcast, please stand up. Who we got around me? Oh, we got Jaguar
Raise your hand,
Heights
too.
and La Casa, Sal. I think it was episode 6 or 7, one of the first guests I had on the show. Who else did we have? Daisy. Oh, Elements of Daisy. I think episode 20. Tomasa, aka I Am Oneness, and Miso. We had Miso on the podcast. Yeah, Jeremy Vox from Traverse Outdoors. We got my sound guy over there, Mark Feichel, Manny Pacquiao Jr. Who else is out there? I'm forgetting someone. Can you guys? I know Matt Kerr is here, helping with event management. He was on the show. Jenny Valles with her baby Ari was on the show. Who else was on? Well, regardless, we're going to start transitioning soon, but thank you, Rolland. Thank you, Nikki, for being up here. Please hang around. We're going to have a 15-minute intermission. We got Marta. We got Pete Kang about the DJ. After the 15 intermission, we'll go to the raffle contest. After the raffle contest, we'll continue music and drinks. So shout out, support the taco vendor. One Love Acai. That sounds really good right now. So get some acai bowls and tacos. And help yourself to the free drinks. And let's close this out proper. Here's some good music and dance. Much love, y'all.
If anybody wants a glow in the dark sticker, I don't know how many I have, but first come, first serve. Okay, go.